Hello world, my name is Tim Roswick, and today we're going to talk about how frustration is part of design, because I hear a lot of people say that, like, hey, you should try and eliminate frustration from your game. The player should feel like it's their fault, and granted, all that stuff has a lot of merit, right? I think frustration in general, you can look at it as a bad thing, but here's the thing about design. This is something that I've learned over the dozens of games that I made and iterating on this over and over again. Frustration is part of it. It's part of design. There's no way to eliminate it. There's no way to get rid of it completely. And doesn't mean that trying is a bad thing. It just means that if your goal is to eliminate it completely, you're not gonna succeed, because I don't think there's a way to get rid of frustration, because frustration is not a finite thing. It is an interaction between a person and a thing. And the problem is your thing is defined, right? It's the same for all people, but not all people are the same for that thing, if that makes any sense. Am I making any sense at all? I don't know. But what I'm basically saying is everybody's different, and the things that trigger and frustrate people are all going to be different. So eliminating frustration is out of the question. But what if you take the frustration and included it as part of the design? And so think of it this way. Frustration is going to happen. People are going to get frustrated with your game. They're going to get frustrated with a series of things. But you want them to get frustrated on the right things, not the wrong things. So, for example, UI. This is a big subject because I play a lot of games for Feedback Friday. The first Friday of every month on Twitch, I do Feedback Friday. You can follow twitch.tv/Tim Roswick. Shout out to my channel. I did that. One of the things I've noticed though is that, like, there's a lot of UI design that is second thought, meaning they make the game and then they're like, oh shit, I need a UI, so they just slap a UI on there. They don't put a lot of thought into their UI, and as a result, the UI gets in the way. So the frustration that I get from the game has nothing to do with the game itself, but it has to do with, I want to activate this ability. How the hell do I do that? What does this button mean? You see what I'm saying? Like, the frustration comes from not the game, but from the barriers around the game. And frustration you can think of as almost like there's a jar, like a swear jar, right? You ever hear that thing where they put a swear jar out and they're like, oh, every time you say a swear word, you got to put $1 in the jar or whatever, right? I would fail at that because I can't even do a podcast without saying the fuck word. But you do that, and then the idea is that every time something happens, it fills up the jar and all that stuff. Frustration is the same way. That jar is gonna get stuff in it, right? Frustration is like my language. I can't seem to control it. So it's gonna happen. But what you don't want to do is fill that jar up on stuff that doesn't matter. You want to work extra hard on your tutorial, on your introduction to the game, on your UI, on your UX, because all of those things are barriers to the gameplay. And if you do them badly, you use up all of your frustration budget. You fill up that whole frustration jar on dumb shit. Stupid stuff that doesn't matter. Like, if you have an ability in your game that activates on, let's say, certain circumstances, right? You run up next to a dude and you can, like, assassinate him or something. But let's say they run up to the side of your character, or they run up to, some position that's not there. And the player might be like, oh, well, I want to assassinate this guy. So that's why they're going towards the character, right? They want to use that assassination ability, and they go up next to the character, and the button doesn't show up. What do you mean? How do I do this? Where's the button at? What happened? Is this a bug? What's going on? Like, that's what's going through their brain. But what if Instead of that, when you go up next to the character and you're in a position that's close enough to use the ability, but you're in the wrong position. So for example, for an assassination ability, you might want to be behind the character, not to the side of them, right? Because you got to like do stealth kill or whatever you do. What if the button shows up, but it's grayed out? And when you hover over it, it says, you can't activate this ability because you're not behind the enemy or whatever. Right? Now, you've taken the same scenario with the same constraints and the same set of rules, but you've delivered the information to the player that the player needs, and you've eliminated the frustration because you've told them that what they did is not accurate, and you've told them how to fix it. Right? In the other scenario, in the first scenario where the button doesn't show up and I don't know what the hell to do and I don't know where the hell to go, I think it's a bug. I don't realize that I have to be behind the enemy. So not only do I have a problem, not only am I frustrated, I don't know how to solve my problem. Right? And that, right there, those three things, that can be an exit point for your game. That can be where somebody just says, nope, getting out of here. Nah, this game isn't for me. It's frustrating. Right? And the worst part about that is they may never tell you that. They may literally never tell you that, right? I have a lot of people that are playing Cypherpunk at the moment. I see a lot of people join my Discord, specifically for my games, and I have analytics on my game, and the amount of people that play the game versus the amount of people that actually tell me they played the game or give me feedback, it's a pretty small little chunk of people, and that's fine. Like, I don't mind. I want the game out there, but I know there are some major problems with that game. If you've been watching my devlogs and stuff, you know that there are a lot of issues with that game. And I am systematically trying to solve all of these little issues because I know things like that, for example, where the ability's not describing what they do properly, or things not showing up, or people not understanding how to use it, or even little things like putting the control key next to the ability. Like if it's E to use an ability and I don't have that anywhere, putting it right next to where you use the ability can dramatically improve how fast people learn your game. They're like, if you list your control somewhere, like, oh, I listed them on the download page. Nobody reads that shit. Let's be real here. Nobody reads that shit. I do Feedback Friday. I make it a point to read the shit, and I still miss the shit. Like, I sit down before Feedback Friday. I'm like, okay, I'm going to read all the stuff. I'm going to read all the pages. I'm going to make sure I understand this so I give the proper feedback. And I still end up downloading games that I don't read the stuff, and then I'm confused and I don't know how to use it. So, like, making the game usable, right? Designing it to be used, thinking about these scenarios, like, what happens if somebody that has no idea what this is sits down to play my thing? What are they going to do? Are they going to know what buttons to press? Are they going to know when they can use the abilities and when they can't? Are they going to know why they can't? Are we going to deliver all this information? Are we going to eliminate frustration as much as we can? Or, since we can't remove it completely, are we going to work on the stuff that shouldn't cause frustration, shouldn't get in the way, like the UI, like the UX, like the tutorials? We're going to really work on that stuff to where we can use our frustration budget on things that might cause them to get frustrated anyway. Like if they die early, right? Some people take dying really bad. I know some people that they don't like losing, right? Very high frustration on losing. But I'd rather spend my frustration budget on actual game mechanics, playing the game, right? Then I don't know why I can't use this ability. I don't know if it's disabled. I don't know if it's a bug. You know what I'm saying? So just think about it like that. You're going to have frustration no matter what you do. People are going to be frustrated. What you don't want, though, is them to be frustrated about the dumb things, the things that are not the game, the things that you can prevent just by thinking about, right? The things that you can teach them, the information that you can show them, right? Like Destiny 2 is a perfect example of this, and this is the last example I'll use. But in Destiny 1, there's these abilities called supers. And basically, if you kill enemies over time, especially in PvP, if you kill other enemies, you charge a super, and the super charges over time, and then you press the buttons on the controller to activate the super, and it's like this really strong ability. And I would watch players on Twitch, and like the really pro players, right? Because there's different classes with different supers that you can use. And the pro players, when they're loading into a match, they would go into the menu and look at all the people in the match, and they would inspect their opponent's characters and see which super they're using, right? Because then they want to know, okay, there's a Titan with Striker, there's a Golden Gun Hunter or whatever, so they know what they're fighting against. Now, if you're not a pro player, you're not even thinking about that. You're just like, I'm gonna run and shoot people. But the pro players want to keep track of which abilities they have to watch out for, because Golden Gun plays way different than Striker. Like a Striker has to run up on you and smash you in the face, whereas a Golden Gun can stand back and hit you with range and one-shot kill you. In Destiny 2, they made a UI change to their PvP. And the UI change right up top showed the actual supers of all the opponents. And it shows whether or not they have their super. Now, that's not additional information that pro players didn't have access to. It was always there. It was always available. You just had to go into the menu, look at your opponents, inspect the opponent, look at the super. But if you're not a pro player, you wouldn't know to do that. You wouldn't think to do that. It wasn't something important. But with one UI change, they took the information that pro players knew that they needed, that was important to keep track of, and they made it visible to all of the players in the game. And they made the whole game easier to understand so that you can focus more on the game, right? And I wouldn't consider myself a pro. I'm like probably super casual when it comes to like this. I just play, shooters just to shoot some aliens in the face and unwind. But I've noticed in PvP that because they give me that information, which again is, they're not adding anything. It was always there. It was just really hard to get to. But by making it really simple to understand, and it gives me the advantage that a pro player would have by knowing what to focus on. But it kind of brings everybody up with it, right? It reduces frustration. Like, how did this guy know I have this super? Why is he backing up when I'm running at him to Titan smash him, right? But now I can just glance up at the UI and be like, oh, okay, that's him. And he has a super and he's coming at me. Stuff like that. Reducing frustration, giving players the information that they need to make the proper decisions, telling them what's important, right? And showing them what's not, and also why they can't do the things that they're trying to do, or why things are disabled, or why things, are not charged yet. That feedback for the player is really, really important. And you don't want to waste your frustration on dumb shit, because people are going to get frustrated anyway. So just make sure your UI is solid. Make sure you, and this is way easier said than done. Okay, let me tell you, my whole series of devlogs is about trying to make my game easy to understand, and that's why I'm talking about this today, because it's complicated. Okay, but thinking about it is the first step. Thinking about someone that has no context for your game, doesn't understand the controls, doesn't understand the objective, doesn't understand the abilities. What are they going to do when they sit down and play your game? Are they going to know what keys to press? Are they going to know what abilities to use? Are they going to know why they can't use the abilities at certain times? That stuff is important, because then their frustration is redirected, at the game itself. And you can retain players longer by doing that. So that being said, this video is brought to you by the lovely people on Patreon. I appreciate every single one of you guys for being a part of Game Dev Underground and helping out. If you want your name on this shiny little list, you can head over to patreon.com/GameDevUnderground and see all the cool stuff that we have to offer. If you're an indie developer and you need help build, finishing, and launching better games, that's what we do at Game Dev Underground. You head on over there. But either way, my name is Tim Ruswick. Thank you for being a part of this channel. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.